Hi there. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. By clicking the link, that means you're about to make a move. So congratulations on whatever the endeavor is that you're coming up on in your future. Maybe you're looking to buy a house. Maybe you're looking to sell a house. Maybe you're looking to do both. Maybe you're going to be relocating to our area or are just moving up in the market. Whatever the reason is, you're likely going to have conversations with realtors in the near future. And in Minnesota, I just want to make sure you're aware of who represents whom in real estate. So I'm going to go through an agency relationship disclosure here with you here today. So before we get started, let me just take 30 seconds to introduce myself. My name is Bev Van Alstyne. I'm a local realtor with Messina & Associates Real Estate. We're a local brokerage based out of Duluth, Minnesota. And I have been fortunate to help my clients buy and sell homes in our region for about 15 years. My sales area is about a 45-minute radius of Duluth. So I'm very familiar with the communities surrounding our area as well. So that is my expertise. And if you're looking outside of that area, feel free to contact me as well, because I do have a good group of resources for realtors in other communities that I'd be happy to recommend a very good person that may fit your needs as well. So, all right, so back to it. We're talking real estate and we're going to go through agency relationship here today. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, because I'm going to be a little bit long-winded. Here we go. The first one I'm going to talk to you here about today is a seller's broker. And when I say the word broker, a broker is actually the company and the broker is the owner of that company. So they have the due diligence and duties to make sure that all agents are abiding by, their requirements and doing their due diligence within the state of Minnesota for license law. So when a person is represented, you might be working with one particular agent, but know that that contract has the form for their particular broker because everything has to go through their brokerage. Enough about brokerages. Now let's go into the different types of representation. So the first one is a seller's broker or a seller's agent, and that person has the representation and has the relationship with the seller. So they have a contract in place with the seller that says they will be selling the property, and this is the agreed upon list price, and this is the agreed upon commission. So by having that contract in place, that gives them the opportunity to put the sign in the yard, to get the agreement to show the property. They will be the ones doing the marketing. They may be doing open houses and things like that. So if you are not yet represented, maybe you're just starting to look at houses, maybe you go through an open house that they have. They, again, remember, they represent the seller. If you walk through that door, they do have to give you material facts about the house, meaning square footage, age of roof, does the basement leak, what's the zoning for the area, what are the property taxes, what are things that are going to affect you if you were to buy that house. But please be aware, don't show all your cards and tell them about your motivation, because unless you're being represented by them, they will take information you share with them and share that information with their client. Because again, that's who they have a contract for representation with, and that is with the seller. The next type of relationship in real estate is a buyer's broker. And buyer representation came into play in the early 1990s. Before then, everybody had to go through the person with the sign in the yard. But after that, that's when representation came into play, where buyers wanted to be somewhat represented as well. And so that's when an agent sits down and has a contract signed with a buyer, that their relationship is with that particular buyer, and they are seeking out homes to represent that buyer. They're scheduling showing appointments. They're the ones walking them through the homes. They're the ones that when they're writing contracts to purchase a particular house, that they're putting the terms that are going to fit that buyer's needs best and negotiate that buyer's best interest in mind with their negotiations. So a buyer's agent represents the buyer, seller's broker or seller's agent represents the seller. So what happens if the same agent or the same brokerage represent both? Good question. That's the third one on our list here. That's called dual agency. So again, a recap, if the same company represents both the buyer and the seller, meaning they have a contract for representation with both, or perhaps the listing agent also has a buyer they represent that they want to show that particular house to. That goes under the umbrella of a dual agency in Minnesota. And what that means is the brokerage and that agent or agents involved, they have to do a really good job of balancing where they can't work in one of their clients' favor over the other. So they have to be very fair with their due diligence and offer fiduciary duties to both clients. So the big thing I always tell folks, when you're involved with dual agency, those particular realtors or realtor have to keep your information about your price, terms, and motivation confident unless you tell them to share something with that other person that is represented by their company. So if this happens where you're in a dual agency circumstance, that agent might share the same comparables, what the seller had seen for why they chose to list with what they did. Maybe they'll share those comparables with you, but they can't share anything with that seller unless you say, hey, agent, please tell them this is my price point, this is my motivation, and why I want to buy this house. Those are things that they can't share unless you tell them they are allowed to do so. Final thing about dual agency, you actually have to say, yep, I agree to it, or no, I don't agree to it. So make sure you have a conversation, make sure you're very familiar and comfortable with it. And if you are, and you feel very good about the chances of being represented in this format, there's a box on your representation, either as a listing agent or as the buyer's agent. And then also, again, when you get to the point of signing a contract to buy that house, there's also another box that says, hey, are you aware this is dual agency? Here's how it works. Yep, you're okay with it? Great. Okay, sounds good. So that's dual agency. Fourth type of representation is a little bit more limited, and it's called a facilitator. And a facilitator agreement is simply performing services for a transaction. So I'm going to use the example that you want to buy your Uncle Bill's farm in the area, and you obviously don't need it put on the market. You don't need, all these things negotiated because Bill, he's your uncle. So you just simply want to get a realtor involved to do the paperwork and the process and go through the transaction and make sure things are done correctly. That's kind of a limited service facilitation that we do offer. And so it is definitely something we can help with. You can always talk to a real estate attorney and have things drafted in that format as well. But just know that, realtors have that as an option if you just want transactional stuff done too. So now that we're through the types of agents, let me just explain fiduciary duties. So if you choose to be represented by a person by signing a buyer's representation or signing a listing contract or signing a facilitator agreement, whatever the form that you choose to sign, just be aware that of these fiduciary duties that agent has to you at that point. They are loyalty, working in your best interests at all times, obedience, any lawful instructions they should carry out. Obviously, they can't do things that are illegal, but they should do everything else you request of them. Disclosure, any material facts they have to disclose to the use and enjoyment of yourself or the other party involved. And then keeping your information confident and making sure things are appropriately done accurately and your information is held confident. And then reasonable care, making sure that everything is done accurately and to the best of their abilities. On top of that, just kind of a side note, there's certain things that are our point of sale requirements, maybe by a city or a county or by a municipality. That realtor should be doing their due diligence to make sure you are doing things accurately to your particular area. And then lastly, accounting. If there's money involved with earnest money, making sure that goes into the appropriate trust account at the right time, communicating with the lender and communicating with your title company you choose to use or your attorney you choose to use to make sure the terms that were agreed on and negotiated are appropriately allotted on the settlement sheet at the end. So those are the fiduciary duties, and those are the agent relationships in Minnesota. I hope this information's been helpful for you. Any other questions, feel free to give me a call or text or email. Glad to continue the conversation with you. Have a great day and best of luck.